All right, it is 6 o'clock, and I'm calling this meeting, Environmental and Natural Resource Commission, to order. First up is roll call. Commissioner Redmond?
Here.
Commissioner Bryan?
Here.
Commissioner Lates, myself is present. Commissioner Cryer?
Here.
Commissioner Saunders-Pierce?
Present.
And Commissioner Gill is absent. Next up on the agenda is approval of this agenda. Do we have any additions or revisions to the agenda?
Mr. Chair, no staff changes.
Staff? I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as written.
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Bryan. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next, we have approval of minutes. First, approval of the minutes from May 19th, 2025. Do we have any comments on those minutes?
No, but we do have.
Oh, we have Commissioner Gill.
So.
Mr. Chair, I'll note Commissioner Gill's presence.
Thank you. All right, I will move to approve the May 19, 2025 minutes.
I'll second that.
Seconded by Commissioner Saunders-Pierce. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next.
I'll abstain.
Thank you. Commissioner Gill abstains. Approval of the June 11, 2025 minutes. Any comments or revisions to those, to the minutes for that meeting? All right. I'll move to approve the June 11 minutes.
I'll second.
Seconded by Commissioner Cryer. All those in favor?
Aye.
I'll also abstain.
And Commissioner Gill abstains. And Commissioner Redmond abstains. Next to new business with the Energy Smart and Biz Recycling presentations.
Very good, thank you. You were moving along at such a fast clip. I was having a hard time keeping notes, but I'm ready. All right, well, thank you very much, Mr. Chair and members of the commission. So tonight we have very honored guests here. Yes, we have guest speakers from the Minnesota Chamber of Commerce, who administers 2 programs that assist businesses in reducing energy and waste, including Energy Smart and Biz Recycling. So Energy Smart programs are free to businesses that are serviced by Xcel Energy, and Biz Recycling is a free public program offered by Ramsey Washington Recycling to support business waste reduction and recycling efforts. And you may recall during your goal setting earlier this year, the Environmental and Natural Resources Commission did outline that you wanted to look at Maplewood businesses and assist them with energy and solid waste reduction as one of the environmental priorities. And I wanted to note that that focus also reflects the city's broader commitment to sustainability and climate resilience. So we thought we'd get a kickstart and see what we can do to help our businesses by just partnering with these great programs that we have here available to us. So tonight we have 2 representatives. We have Alex Christensen with who represents Energy Smart, and then Andrew Hilger, who represents WasteWise. So I would like to call up Alex first, please, if you don't mind.
Thank you very much for having me. Happy to be here. First, I'm going to make sure this clicker works like I think it does. Okay, great. So again, my name is Alex Christensen. I'm the program manager for Energy Smart at the Minnesota Chamber of Commerce and the Minnesota Chamber Environmental Sustainability Foundation. So quick overview of what I'm going to get into in my brief presentation tonight. I'll go over a little background and history of why Energy Smart exists and what our purpose is. I'll focus a lot on our process. I'll go through a couple examples of Maplewood businesses we've worked with in the recent past, and then I'll mention another contract that I oversee that is focused on pollution reduction efforts, but would be relevant to Maplewood businesses as well. So first, a little bit of background. So Energy Smart was born out of a situation created by the 2007 Next Generation Energy Act. So that was basically a state level law that passed and required that investor-owned utilities like Xcel Energy, like CenterPoint Energy, put a certain amount of their revenue every year towards energy conservation, towards energy efficiency. What the utilities did with that mandate is they created the utility rebate programs, both residential and commercial. So you might be familiar if you're a homeowner with, if you bought an air source heat pump, you could get I think Xcel's residential, it's like a $2,000 rebate, something like that. So these programs, the rebate programs have been around since 2007, 2008. But Energy Smart exists because pretty quickly after the rebate programs were created, it became clear that there was kind of a gap. Large companies, commercial and industrial, had sustainability teams, they had facilities and operations teams, and they kind of had internal capacity to engage with these programs, take advantage of it, make use of the rebates, et cetera. And just in general, plan capital improvement projects. Small businesses, as you're probably familiar, it's usually very few people, they wear a lot of hats, they're extremely busy, they don't necessarily have the bandwidth or the capital to engage with programs like this. So we exist to fill that niche. We are very much focused on small and medium-sized businesses. We're part of the Chamber of Commerce, so we do engage with large businesses sometimes, but our focus is very much on Main Street small businesses. And we contract directly with Xcel Energy and CenterPoint Energy. For the purposes of tonight, I'm mostly just going to talk about Xcel because in Maplewood, you've got Xcel on the electric and gas side. And we are kind of a starting point in any business's energy efficiency journey. So our entry point with a business is anything from, hey, my utility bills are high, help me figure out why, help me figure out a plan to reduce them, to, hey, I think I want to upgrade to LEDs. I got fluorescence and I want to improve on that, but I don't know how. Can you help me plan that project? All the way up to, hey, I'm building an entirely new building from scratch. Or I'm doing a major renovation. I've got tons of energy efficiency decisions to make all at once. Can't wrap my head around it. Can you help me? So, and we do everything in between. So we really want to meet businesses wherever they're at, whether they're existing or new. And I describe us as kind of a hub model for engagement. There's a lot that we can do in-house. There's a team of 6 of us, but we can't do everything. No one can. But we are very well positioned where we have connections with the utilities directly. We have connections with other industry partners. And so if there's something that we can't do in-house, we usually know who can, and we can make that connection directly. And it's not just sending them to a website. We can connect them with a real person who can kind of take it from there. So we do as much hand-holding as we need to so that the businesses have the support that they need. I want to clarify up front who we do and we do not work with, because that's important to know. The easiest way to remember it is we're part of the Chamber of Commerce, and so we are focused on commercial. We don't do residential, we don't do public facilities, we can't do houses of worship of any kind, we don't do schools, and we also don't do multifamily, although some of those are businesses. But the utilities have asked us to stay out of that space. They have dedicated programs for that. But any kind of commercial is fair game. We do lots of retail, food service, manufacturing, auto body shops, offices, child and adult daycare is fair game. That's separate than schools. And as long as you are in Xcel Energy territory, which in Maplewood, again, is no problem, then we can work with you. If you're outside of that territory and you're also a member of the Chamber of Commerce, we make that work as well, regardless of utility. So all that is to say, we are the free first resource for businesses on their energy efficiency journey, and we're here to provide technical assistance and financial assistance so that businesses can save energy and money by improving energy efficiency in their operations. So how do we do it? We always start with a on-site energy audit. It's really important that we go to the physical location of the business. Every building is different. Every business runs its building a little bit differently, and those details matter a lot. It's also easier to have a productive conversation with someone when you're in the space. Usually any business owner has that one piece of equipment that they're really irritated with because they keep having to fix it, or they kind of know in the back of their mind that it's probably time to replace it, or it's been on a wish list item, that kind of thing. It's easier to have those conversations when you're there looking at this stuff. And we want to be there because we want to know everything, whether or not it's already on the business owner's mind. So we do an on-site visit. We generate a written report that we send to the business so that they have as a reference for all of their planning, both in real time and then in the future if they need to come back and look at it. And then if they want to do something, then we help them collect estimates. So if they have a preferred contractor, great, we're happy to work with whoever. If they want help finding one, we have lots of trusted contractors in our network that we can connect them with. And we will work with them and the contractor to make sure that they're proposing and bidding on high efficiency equipment that will qualify for the various incentives that are available. And I'll talk more about those later, but there's rebates from the utilities, and then there's also grant funding that we can help connect as well. And then ultimately, if they do the thing, then they get to collect their incentives. We take care of the paperwork, and then they get to enjoy the operational cost savings that go with having higher efficiency equipment. Here's some examples of the actual on-site assessment process. As you can see, we're looking around. If you've got walk-in coolers, we're going in there. If you've got stuff up on your roof, I'm going up on your roof. I'm going down in your basement. I'm taking pictures of all the stuff in your kitchen, so on and so forth. Every place we go, we always want to see what we call the big five. That's your heating, your cooling, the thermostats that control that heating and cooling. You've got domestic hot water, and you've got lighting. Basically, everybody's got that. Some places have more. A food service, a restaurant's going to have a bunch of cooking stuff. An auto body shop probably has air compressors, so on and so forth. We want to know if there's stuff that's on your...
Sorry, your mic keeps cutting out,
Oh, sorry.
so we're going to do a backup plan here.
Okay. Is this better? Is it on?
It's on. You can bring it up to your...
Is this better?
Thank you.
Good? Okay.
Sorry.
Great. So the point of the assessment on site is to just get a better sense of what's going on, and we want to really understand the questions and the goals that that business owner has for their space. We'll also do things like collect bill copies. So we'll get your recent utility bills. We can then request up to 3 years of data from Excel, and we can do a utility bill analysis. That helps us see if there's anything weird going on. Sometimes there's seasonal usage that shouldn't be happening, and that can flag additional mysteries to solve for us. We put all of our recommendations into a written report, as I mentioned, when we do a variety of different types of recommendations. So we understand that small businesses in particular are often capital constrained, and so we really want to give a wide variety of options. We don't only want to tell people they got to buy new stuff, because that's not true. Like there's more to it than that. So we emphasize low and no cost and behavioral stuff. Sometimes it's as simple as you've got a programmable thermostat, but you're not running it on a schedule. So let's talk about what kind of schedule makes sense for you. We can help you program it if you need. Very simple things like that. Or you've got a kitchen, you don't open for service, or you don't start cooking until 4 p.m., but your prep cooks turn the kitchen hood on at 10 a.m. when they come in, and it's just running for 4 hours for no reason. Things like that. There's operational, easy to implement, free to implement kinds of stuff that we like to flag for people. Sometimes it makes sense to do additional audits or assessments. Like I mentioned earlier, we're well connected with a bunch of industry partners, so we can connect people with free LED assessments if that's an appropriate recommendation for their building, dedicated in-depth HVAC or refrigeration assessments. Sometimes if it's a larger building, there's a more in-depth engineering study that we can help connect people with as well. And then we definitely focus on the equipment investments. If there's something that's failing, if there's something that is due to be replaced in the next 2 to 5 years, we want to start that conversation. We want to help people plan so that they're not scrambling when something breaks. Because usually when someone's scrambling because something just broke, they're going to buy the cheapest thing, and the cheapest thing is usually the lowest efficiency. So we want to help avoid those situations. When you buy a new piece of equipment, that's a very rare golden window of opportunity. Usually when you buy something, you've got that for 15 or 20 years. And so there's these very magical moments that we want to try to capture and help people make good decisions with. And then we, in our recommendation reports, try to articulate the benefits. In addition to the energy and cost savings, those are usually the most important. There's a lot of times benefits around safety, comfort. Think about a space like an auto body shop. Just having better lighting, it really improves the quality of the work environment and the safety for the workers. Collecting estimates, like I mentioned before, is pretty straightforward. Our main goal here is just to make sure that people know what the requirements are to gain, one, the most efficiency, but also the most incentives, whether it's rebates or grants. Ultimately, it's completely the business's decision. We're not here to make people do anything. We're not regulatory. We're not sales. It's their choice. We're just here to facilitate and reward good decision making. If you make good decisions, then we'll help you get the incentives for it. So there's the rebates from the utilities that I mentioned earlier. We're very familiar with all those applications and those requirements, so we do all the paperwork for you so that all you need to do is sign, and then we'll submit it on your behalf, and the check goes to you or your contractor if you want. We don't take a cut of anything. We're just here to streamline the process. And honestly, sometimes this is the most valuable thing we can do for businesses. Some of these applications are 25, 30 pages long. There's math and specs and things you got to look up, and we can take care of all that. Grants. So we have our own in-house grant program that can be up to $5,000 a year for qualifying projects, so businesses can reapply year over year. So if they're using the report as intended as kind of a roadmap for multi-year planning, maybe one year they want to do an LED retrofit, and then the next year they want to get a heat pump, and then the next year they need to replace their air compressor or something. We can do that. We can come back again and again for grant funding over time. We also work with other municipalities. You may be aware that cities like Minneapolis, St. Louis Park, Richfield, Hopkins, Edina, soon to be Minnetonka, Northfield, all have their own municipal energy efficiency grant programs that run through the city. We're tied in with a lot of those, and we can help people apply for and receive that funding as well. And that ideally stacks, so your project gets a rebate from the utility, a grant from us, and a grant from the city, and that can add up to some pretty significant funding. In some cases, we can also help with more complex financing, like through PACE. We can have a side conversation about that later. That's pretty rare. It's a little more complicated, but that's a good opportunity for business owners that own their building. Okay, what does this look like in practice? Here's a couple examples of projects that we've done with Maplewood businesses in the last couple of years. I think this one was from last year, actually. So community dental care in Maplewood, we helped them with an LED retrofit. They ended up getting a $17,000 rebate from Xcel Energy. We were able to give them the full $5,000 of our grant funding, and they're saving about $8,500 in electric costs every year now. And so this is just a good example of how quickly some of these numbers can add up. It's nice to have the upfront cost savings numbers, like the rebate and the grant, but that annual savings, over 5, 10, 15 years over the life of the equipment, that's really significant savings. Here's a smaller project with Maplewood Liquor that we did. Also an LED retrofit. This one, the rebate was about $4,500. We were able to give them 50% of that additionally in grant funding, so another $2,800, and they're saving almost $3,000 a year in electric costs, compounding over time. So, to sum it all up, put a little bow on it, our services are built around technical assistance and financial assistance. That technical assistance is always going to start with a site visit to see what's going on, see what the real conditions are, learn about questions and goals. From there, we're going to help develop a plan and follow the business owner's priorities, from helping them connect with contractors, review bids, take care of paperwork for them, and then ideally connect them with financial incentives like rebates and grants so that they can enjoy the reduced operating expenses. Okay, step to the side. This is another program that is housed within Energy Smart, but it's separate than our utility work. BP3 is the Business Pollution Prevention Program. That's what the 3 is for, 3 Ps. It is run, this is kind of a good segue into Andrew's talk with the Ramsey and Washington County biz recycling contract. This is a partnership with that same organization, but its focus is a little bit different. It's focused on reducing 6 target pollutants. They're all, at this point, air pollutants of various kinds. Think fine particulates, think VOCs, that kind of stuff. And it is a technical assistance and grant program that we administer, and it's a little bit more technical, it's a little bit more hands-on, and the projects tend to be a little bit more bespoke, but they also tend to be more expensive, and the grant goes up to $50,000 to account for that. It can cover up to 75% of project costs. So the types of things we're doing here, a lot of projects historically, we've worked with auto body shops who have a paint booth for refinishing car parts. A lot of times those paints are solvent-based. They release a lot of volatile organic compounds. Now there are quality waterborne paints, and you can do a retrofit to your paint booth to accommodate using those paints, or you can get an entirely new paint booth. Some people do that, and we can help people fund and implement those projects. Also things like solvent recyclers, just ways to reduce the use of chemicals in auto body or other like parts finishing type applications. We've also started working with a lot of small engine electrification, so think chainsaws, leaf blowers, weed whips, that kind of thing. So we've been working with golf courses, lawn care, tree service, that kind of thing to replace their 2-stroke gasoline engines, which release a ton of VOCs, which is local, like neighborhood level air quality concern, but also maybe even more so for the workers themselves. I worked for a tree company before I came to the chamber, and I know firsthand how smelly and headache-inducing a lot of that equipment is. So that's been a new push this year in 2025, and we've had a lot of success with that. We are also, always exploring new opportunities, like working with breweries on water pollution projects and things like that. So if there are businesses in Maplewood that, whether it's auto body shops or landscape companies, or generally companies that you think might be producing any pollutants of concern, happy to talk about that and provide assistance if they are interested. I think that's it. Do we want to do questions now, or do we want to come back? What do you prefer to do?
I think we can take questions for you now and then move on to Andrew's presentation. All right. Questions, comments from the commission? Ted?
I've got 3.
Great.
First, great presentation. Thank you very much. It's a great program. So, first of all, do you have, does the program have any limitations in terms of participation, like only so many businesses a year, only so many businesses in a community, anything like that?
Good question. No. We could, it wouldn't be wise, but we could do only Maplewood businesses next year, and we wouldn't technically get in trouble. We can work with as many businesses as we have capacity for. To give you an idea, we typically work with around 400 businesses a year, and around 250 to 300 of those are new businesses, so that we've met with for the first time that year. But that also means that about 100, or give or take, are ones that we've worked with before and are coming back to continue working with us.
Good. The second question is, do you guys have any numbers on average percentage of energy savings, not dollar savings, but energy savings from participants?
That's a good question. It varies so much that the average wouldn't be particularly useful. And it really depends on the type of project. So with something like an LED retrofit, if it's a fairly simple space, retail, offices, something where there's not a bunch of cooking equipment or air compressors or other manufacturing type stuff, an LED retrofit might drop your electricity consumption like 20 to 30%, because it's a significant portion of your overall kind of pie chart of energy use. It's not as much as HVAC, it's not as much as your heating and cooling, but it's the next biggest thing after that in a simple space like an office. So again, yeah, it depends a lot. And if there's, when we're talking with a business and trying to explain or persuade a particular project, that's when we can have like a more nuanced, specific conversation with them about what it might look like for their energy savings. But big picture, it just varies too much.
Okay. Now, last question I've got is there any sort of best practices or examples of municipalities that have done a good job partnering with you guys to really promote it and get participation? Anything that we should be thinking of that we could do to
Good
promote
question. So one of the things that I've been doing probably quite a bit just in the last 6 months is I've done this in actually neighboring communities. So New Brighton, Shoreview, and Roseville, so all kind of in the North Metro here, have some kind of local business council. And they're all kind of structured differently. I'm not sure exactly what the Maplewood equivalent is. Sometimes it's run through an economic development association, whatever your equivalent would be. They usually have, whether it's monthly or quarterly meetings, and I come and do a version of this presentation to them. Frequently, they also invite any local businesses that want to attend. Mostly they're structured as some kind of breakfast. There's treats out in the hallway and we do a brief program, and then probably most importantly, at the end, there's just kind of open networking time, and business owners will come up to me and they'll say, hey, I got this kind of thing going on. Do you think you can help with that? Or I want to know more about this particular technology. And that's where the most value is, in my experience, is just creating opportunities for businesses to engage with us. In person is ideal. Happy to do a webinar, but in person is the most effective in my experience. So I like to not reinvent the wheel if we don't have to. So if there are occasions in Maplewood where businesses are already getting together, or there are venues or communication streams that they already pay attention to, plugging both of our programs into that is probably going to be the most effective.
Okay, great.
I have a question. Regarding the recommendations, I know and understand it's primarily on the energy efficiencies in terms of the goals and things, but you also mentioned there's other factors like comfort and that go into the suggestions or recommendations for that you provide to the businesses. Does those also sometimes include sustainability or environmental focused recommendations, or would those be like out of scope? If we were talking about like potentially like looking at recommendations of alternative fuels versus like electrification versus natural gas as an example.
So we do get into that a little bit. So the most common example is if someone wants to replace usually people got their furnace and their air conditioner installed at the same time. So frequently they need to be replaced around the same time. And so whenever there's that type of situation, we always want to capitalize and be able to have a really intentional conversation around heat pumps. You don't have to install a heat pump to get Xcel Energy rebate. You can get a rebate for a high efficiency normal split system air conditioner, but you can get a bigger rebate and way more grant funding for a heat pump. And so we present it usually we lead with the dollars, because that usually is what people care the most about, frankly. But in the narrative, like in our written description and recommendation, and then also in subsequent conversations, we try to stress to people that it's an opportunity to use their furnace less. In the Minnesota climate, it's usually unrealistic at this point to completely eliminate your natural gas use. You can get a cold climate heat pump. We don't need to get in the weeds, but it's not always super realistic. But for the vast majority of the year, if we can get you to take your 80% furnace to a 96% efficient furnace and replace your air conditioner with a heat pump, now that heat pump can provide high efficiency cooling better than your air conditioner did, but it can also provide high efficient and cheaper electric heating for significant portions of the year. And that furnace is really only kicking on, kind of mid-December to mid-February, ideally. And that represents a very direct reduction in fossil fuel use. So we do try to have those conversations whenever we can. We usually try to feel out the business owner's priorities, and if that doesn't feel worth focusing on, then we don't. But some people really do care a lot about it, and we do our best to keep that top of mind for them. There's also new dual fuel and heat pump rooftop units. That's doing your heating and your cooling in one packaged unit. There's heat pump water heaters that make a lot of sense for certain applications. So we do try to focus on electrification when we can.
Great. Thank you. Do you partner at all with the Minnesota Center of Energy Environment? I feel like there's a lot of
CEE, yes, we know
there.
them very well. So earlier when I mentioned some of our industry partners, like being able to connect people with free LED assessments and HVAC and refrigeration, that's through CEE. So we know them very well. I was just emailing with one of their lighting consultants earlier today, and I was on the phone with their refrigeration guy earlier today. We're very much dovetailed in with them. The presentations that I've been doing in Roseville, Shoreview, New Brighton, CE is also presenting at those business council meetings usually. So we get along well. We work in similar spaces, but we have slightly different focuses. One reason that I emphasize that we're a good starting point and a good hub is we look at the whole building. CE has tremendous expertise and great resources on lighting specifically, HVAC specifically, and refrigeration specifically. But if you want help choosing a fryer or a convection oven or an air compressor, then it's important to talk to us.
Awesome. Any other comments, questions?
I just want to say this was a great presentation. I had no idea the Minnesota Chamber of Commerce had this outreach and support, so I'm grateful to learn more about it tonight. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Happy to
Thank
do
you
it.
very much.
Yeah, I just was going to comment that, again, my question kind of dovetails over here is how do people find out about you?
Yeah.
Right? And so ways that we can help get the word out, absolutely.
Yeah, there's we have a website that people can visit. Some people find us via social media and just kind of make their way onto the website and fill out a SurveyMonkey, and I look at it every week. Some people will just call the chamber. Some people will see us at an event. They'll see us at a newsletter. So people find us lots of ways. But word of mouth, and my preferred method of gaining participants and building a sustainable and durable kind of referral pipeline is having people in the community that know that we exist. Mm-hmm. Whether that's municipal folks like yourselves, or in Minneapolis, we work closely with the Lake Street Council, that is the kind of community-based organization in that whole corridor, or the West Broadway Coalition in North Minneapolis, that's the community-based organization for that corridor. We work closely with the Latino Economic Development Center and their network. And so building kind of those trusted partnerships is, I think, the best way to do it, because people already come to you for guidance on certain things. You already exist as an institution in the community, and if there's ways that that can be leveraged so that we can just help more people in your community, then that's a win-win-win as far as I'm concerned.
Great, thank you very much.
Yeah,
Coming out.
thank you.
Thank you. So we'll now hear from Andrew Hilger of WasteWise. Welcome, Andrew.
Thank you very much. So I'll begin by stating that there are quite a few parallels between our programs. Although WasteWise was first, I will also say that. So let me get into this here. WasteWise began in 1994 in response to state legislation that necessitated a recycling rate in Minnesota of 70% by the year 2030. We're hovering in the mid-50s now with about 4 years to go, so they got their work cut out for them, but that is why we started here. So a lot of this might be very familiar to you just by the nature of the panel, but business waste reduction is essentially just getting smarter about how you use everything in your organization materially. This is about minimizing materials, resources, and byproducts that you either throw away or aren't using efficiently. This could mean finding ways of using less packaging, reducing or reusing scrap if you are a producer like that, or cutting down on waste just generally speaking for small businesses. So our goal is essentially just contributing to a circular economy and helping to increase those recycling rates statewide. You've probably seen some version of this through quite a bit of environmental education over the years. This comes from the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency around the waste hierarchy. So it's pretty straightforward, but our goal is essentially to take participating businesses from the least preferred methods of waste disposal, which would be a landfill, and bringing them to the other end of the spectrum, which is reusing materials and reducing at the highest level. We see folks that fall on all sides of this, and our goal is to just help advance them a ladder or two to the left here. So we do a lot of similar things that they do over in Energy Smart. We'll do site visit consultations. We come on site while Alex's crew is normally taking pictures of tech and lights. Our cameras are pointed down at trash cans, and we go outside and look at dumpsters and fun things like that. We would love to dig through your trash, quite honestly, so something we do regularly. But yeah, we'll take a look at your waste bills as well. I'll get into what that looks like, but there are very frequently inefficiencies when it comes to how people are paying for waste disposal. I'll get into our grant funding and assistance that we connect participants with. We also do a lot of employee trainings. There are some pretty straightforward inefficiencies around, if you have a staff of 50 and half of that staff is speaking a different language, for example, things like that really contribute to poor quality waste streams in businesses. I'll speak a little bit to the waste sorts that we do to gather our initial data and follow-up data around pollution reduction. And we're all about enhancing waste stream efficiency in a number of different ways. So we'll dig into all of this. So yeah, like I said, we'll come to your business. We have sustainability specialists to help identify new ways of addressing your waste stream. So we work with all nature of businesses. We have similar limitations as far as schools and multifamily businesses, but we work with all sorts of different places, and that's one of the most interesting parts of the job, honestly, is getting to see the very striated nature of just businesses in Minnesota, which is really fun. We will help with right sizing services. That is essentially If you are paying for a dumpster and you fill up half of it, you are paying too much. And we will help you right size and get the correct size containers to dispose of what you are disposing of. And that also might include introducing a new way to deal with your waste stream, like hopefully everybody has recycling, but maybe you need an organic stream, something like that. That's something we can get into. And we also do in-person and virtual employee trainings. Again, it helps if you're on site, it helps if you're interacting directly with your audience, but we're flexible. So around grant funding and assistance, these are some of the more popular general offerings across WasteWise to which we can help direct participants. For Ramsey County specifically, we do a lot of work with a biz recycling grant that is up to $10,000 to improve recycling, reuse, and food scrap collection. There's a food recovery grant, which is up to $20,000 for food recovery of surplus edible food. It's pretty straightforward. And then we have what we call a waste reduction grant, which is up to $50,000 to reduce waste through reuse technology enhancements or redesign. The nature of businesses using these is so different. So it takes a lot of creative interaction with our county stakeholders to bring projects forward to them to get their lay of the land. Is this something that they want to fund? Typically, the more diversion from landfills that your project can present, the more likely you are to get it approved. I'll get into some case studies here to sort of show you what's going on. Yeah, so eligible projects, anything around recycling improvements, organics collection, food recovery, waste prevention solutions. There's some really creative projects that we've seen come from this. And we also have a $4,000 grant for chamber members, again, not limited to scope there. I'm not going to read all this tiny text here, but I will just give you guys just a little breakdown as to some of the cool stuff that we've been up to. So Rustic Roots Winery is a winery that was looking to reduce their waste in their tasting room. And essentially, this funding went towards, they got the full $50,000 funding for this project, and they used their grant funds to get, obviously, additional kegs and things like that, but they wanted to serve their wine directly from the keg or the cask to save on all the different byproducts, whether it be from the pallet up, the cardboard, bottling, all these things add up to quite a bit of waste for this sort of business. So we got a keg washer for them, which was one of the big expenses for this particular piece. And we made a couple other small scale adjustments for them, but ultimately this led to, adapting this new process led to a 75% decrease in trash volume, which is atypical, but a pretty spectacular result. And because of the sheer volume of waste that they were able to mitigate, they now divert 60 tons of disposable items annually, which is pretty significant. And then on the back end of that, we cut their trash and recycling bills in half. Sometimes that's all we do. Sometimes folks don't qualify for funding, but we can help everyone to some degree, which is something we're proud of. Very vastly different business. This is Handy Medical. They, like many of us, were concerned about their amount of flexible plastics that they were producing. It's the thinner it is, traditionally it's been more difficult to especially recycle those thin plastics. So one of our points of pride is we're very close with all the haulers around the cities as well, because ultimately, there are a lot of ideas around recycling, but much of this goes back to the capability and capacity of haulers to actually be able to process these materials. So. And that can be, inertia is strong, and it takes a long time to get upgrades at those facilities. So for this particular participant, we were able to connect them with the hauler Merrick, who does recycle that plastic. And you can see it helped recycle 48 gaillards of soft plastic annually, with soft plastic being what it is, only weighed about 1,600 pounds, but that was diverted from the waste stream. So another fun piece that we're proud of. We do quite a few waste sorts. This particular initiative was at the St. Paul Stadium, which was a really fun time. They were partnering with this company called Our World to get reusable cups and reusable utensils, which is a unique project at scale like that. But yeah, we went on site and got all the waste that was created from the previous night's game, sorting through, what I will say about this is it was a relatively clean sort, being that it's pretty fresh, but the waste is very noticeable. You have food that's still hot even from the night before, which is kind of a heartbreaker. But our goal is to sort of break down for this, because they're doing reusable utensils and serveware. What does that look like for you now? Where are your biggest points of consumption? And that is where we wanted to attack those specific items with the reusables program. So you can see on the right there, that's one of our sustainability specialists, Kristen. They rolled out these 6-foot-long hot dogs, and we found exactly one wrapper from our previous night's game. So somebody bought one. But this is our previous year at a glance, just so you get an idea as to the scale here. Our staff is about twice the size of Energy Smart. We really go to businesses and just dig into the weeds with their specific issues. But this has led to, in 2024, 924 on-site visits and for about 834 participating businesses. There's a couple follow-up visits there, of course. Technical assistance is such a large number for us because, like I said, some folks don't even require an on-site visit. Some folks just need resources, and that's something we're happy to connect with. We, through the various counties to which we are contracted, got 205 grants approved, over $1 million in grant funding for various projects around waste diversion, and most importantly, diverted about 8.5 million pounds of waste from landfills. So that, in a nutshell, is what WasteWise does. So I'm happy to take any questions, and thank you for the time.
Thank you, Andrew. Appreciate it. Comments? Ted?
So I got a couple repeats and then a couple new ones. So also, I'm assuming, are there any limitations on business participation numbers or anything like that that we should be aware of?
Numbers, no. Typically with counties, they set a threshold, minimum and maximum. Generally not so picky about the maximum, but
okay.
I would say per contract area, we're looking at something around 80 to 120 new participants is a fairly typical goal, and we usually double that with repeat businesses.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Then the second question, similar in terms of like average reduction. I see that on the 2024 at a glance, it's about 10,000 tons savings per participant. Mm-hmm. Is that pretty typical?
No.
No. Okay. All right.
No, that would be awesome. It really spans the gamut. Most of that data comes from the large-scale projects. It's collecting pennies and nickels as you kind of get into right sizing and things like that. Some folks will even pay. We're essentially giving away free money, much like you. But many participants will come out with a net spend, and they will actually do something like adding an organic stream or something like that. So while I would say it's the most typical that we are offering grants, usually something smaller like a bin in a bag grant for a few $1,000s to get the infrastructure around these things. Our data is kind of all over the place and what we're actually able to measure. Very recently we've changed, for example, the means by which we calculate diversion to just a much more thoroughly sourced list. So it's always evolving, and there are quite a few moving parts within waste specifically.
Okay.
And I would just add an interesting point is that some materials are impossible to recycle just because of, again, the capabilities of the haulers. Recently we had someone who was trying to get rid of a wedding material supplier who was trying to get rid of AstroTurf, which is notoriously difficult because it's so many materials that are combined into one thing. It's sewn together, things like that. So those are massively complicating factors for haulers specifically. So I know it's a bit of rambling, but so is the job, unfortunately. So, yeah.
Awesome. Related to that, so Wastewise I saw a report from like 2017 or 2018, something like that. I was digging through my files to see if I could find it, and I couldn't. But I had seen a report that had average cost savings per participant. Do you have any updated numbers on that? At the time, it was something like $400 per business.
It's about 400 or 500.
Okay.
Yeah, it's gone up marginally, I would say, but that's more. That is, we have 30 years of data to hold that average right at about $400 or $500.
Okay,
Mhm.
excellent. And then the last question I have
No, of
is
course.
just, similarly, are there any best practice examples that you have? I mean, you talked about, or actually you talked about the business association, but are there other sort of best practices about, promoting this, making people aware, anything that we can do?
Yeah, absolutely. So similarly, big word of mouth. We have a pretty robust social media marketing campaign going around all sorts of different aspects of the business. We take a lot of referrals from counties directly. So if someone is ever reaching out to Ramsey or Washington County, they do their biz recycling work together. We accept a number of referrals. We usually get about a dozen or so from them on a monthly average. So anybody who reaches out to the counties, because we are the contracted technical service provider for that county, they get directly given to us. But we get, I would say, a similar number just from something like a Facebook referral, things like that. So I would also be remiss to not acknowledge that we also are certainly beholden to our Chamber of Commerce members, and we'll certainly go out of our way, try to be a little more creative, push a little harder for them too. So. Mm-hmm.
Are there certain businesses or industries that are really kind of in the forefront of where you want to focus, or you're seeing an uptick?
Yeah, absolutely. On a large scale, I would say manufacturing is becoming a really big one. We'll go in and look at things like, just the sheer volume of cardboard, or if it's plastic material, just, the excess that's cut off and things like that. These are all more complex projects, but I would say manufacturers are one of the bigger challenges, but fun challenges in that regard. And on the other side of things, we work with, I think the vast majority of our work, I would say, is with food businesses and restaurants. We're kind of leaving the very busy restaurant time of year right now, so they can pick up the phone and talk to us, but their margins are so thin. So things like organics programs and reusable utensils, things like that are very, very popular with restaurants. That's the biggest that I've seen in the last several months, certainly. Mm-hmm.
All right, no other comments? And thank you so much. Really appreciate it and all the work you both do.
Well, Mr. Chair, I just want to summarize. So I think there's a lot of opportunity for partnership here and moving forward. In Maplewood, of course, we do a lot of outreach events for our residents where this wouldn't really apply. But we do have business licensing here in Maplewood, so we can include that information in our yearly, notifications to them. And of course, you don't handle multifamily recycling, that's separate entity? Yeah. So I was going to mention that, of course, we contract with a hauler to do multifamily recycling. And when we go out and do site visits to switch out carts or change over to recycling dumpsters, I always invite the biz recycling component that deals with multifamily, but that's another beast here. And then of course we have a couple Chamber of Commerce in the area. St. Paul Area Chamber of Commerce is the one that we work with most closely. So there's a lot of opportunity for us to coordinate with other business entities to do this outreach, and it would help us meet our goals of assisting Maplewood businesses in the reduction of energy and waste. So, well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
So, I was going to mention that, of course, we contract with a hauler to do multifamily recycling. And when we go out and do site visits to change over to recycling dumpsters, I always invite the biz recycling component that deals with multifamily, but that's another beast here. And then of course we have a couple Chamber of Commerce in the area. St. Paul Area Chamber of Commerce is the one that we work with most closely. So there's a lot of opportunity for us to coordinate with other business entities to do this outreach, and it would help us meet our goals of assisting Maplewood businesses in the reduction of energy and waste. So we're going to continue to have this discussion, but this was very eye-opening for all of us.
Can I put a question? Actually, I just remembered something.
That'd be great.
So speaking of the best practices and generally trying to find ways to collaborate and drive participation, since you're a local government body, one thing that I have been just starting to have discussions with when I meet with, a Roseville Business Council or Minnetonka, what have you, is, like I mentioned during my presentation, one of the best scenarios for a referral into Energy Smart is a new business or someone who's doing some kind of construction or renovation. And typically, my understanding is usually if any of those things are happening, there's going to be some engagement with local government because there's permits, there's licensing, there's something going on where they have to talk to their local city and say, hey, I'm doing this thing, whether it's I'm opening up or I'm tearing down this wall or I'm building this place. And we haven't solved this anywhere, so this is an open question and I don't need an answer right now. But just if I can leave you with something to ponder, it would be, are there ways to, using kind of the existing mechanisms that exist between businesses and Maplewood as a government entity, are there ways to flag or otherwise identify some of those opportunities in something approaching real time? Because we'll meet with anyone, whatever their situation is, but the best thing, the ideal scenario, is we get to them before they've installed everything, before they've purchased everything, before those decisions are set in stone, so that we can talk to them and help make sure they're making the right decisions. So, not a full thought, but something I wanted to put on your minds is if there's ways to collaborate with whatever those offices within the city or even county might be, really interested in having those discussions. That's all, thanks.
Mr. Chair, that's a very good point, and something that our climate mitigation plan team is considering as an action item. Some sort of pre-construction guide that we could have available to entities, businesses that are expanding, things like that. So that's a very good point.
Yeah, absolutely. That could be a good addition to it, including those recommendations.
I just have one follow-up question on that, I guess. So looking at timelines as far as like rebates, grants, not understanding the full framework of those offerings from different entities, and understanding from a construction side of things, certain deadlines that have to be met. I'm assuming only certain funding assistance would be available for a development or a remodel under that framework, or not?
Yeah, if I understand correctly, then I would say that utility rebates can be captured specifically through Excel. You have a pretty wide window. You can get them. You can only apply for them when the project is complete because you need to be able to turn in an invoice to prove that you did the thing. But you can do that. You can submit that the day after you get the invoice, or Excel will actually give you up to 24 months. So it's like a rolling 2-year period. Quite generous as these utility windows go. So that's the rebate portion. The grant funding, though, our grant terms require pre-approval. And so that's why we need to talk to you on the front end. We can't give you grant funding for something you already did. The purpose of the grant is to help persuade you to do something more than you were gonna do. And so that can't be retroactive. And so timeline-wise, to your point, we need to get in before anything's set in stone. And then that kind of unlocks the grant funding opportunity.
Okay. Did that answer the question? Yeah. I guess just one quick follow-up. I guess grant application timeline. What's that process or like time?
Sure, yeah.
Timeline?
So our process as grants go, ours is extraordinarily quick. We do all of our own application management and approvals in-house. Once we have the signatures, and so the signatures we need the business to sign, we need the contractor to sign, basically saying, I'm going to install what I said I was going to install. And then we, usually me specifically, will, as the program manager, will approve it. That process, once we have the business and contractor signatures, we can usually get it approved within a matter of a couple days to a week. It's a very fast turnaround. We don't have like monthly or quarterly reviews. Our grant application is open all year round. It's rolling. If you max out, if you hit that $5,000 cap, you do have to wait to the next calendar year. But other than that, it's, of all the grant programs that I've encountered, ours is probably the easiest and fastest to work with.
Thank you. That was helpful.
Yeah, certainly.
All right, I think with that, that concludes these presentations. Thank you both for coming out and sharing, and it's been a great discussion.
Thank you. We'll be in touch.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. I can leave a few of my cards. Looks like I only have 2 left in my folder here, but I'll leave them over here.
Excellent. Moving on to the next order of business then, we have the resolution of appreciation for Nancy Edwards.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the commission. Nancy Edwards did resign as a member of the Environmental and Natural Resources Commission on June 17th of this year. Ms. Edwards served on the commission for 2 years and 4 months, from February 13, 2023 to June 17, 2025. When citizen members end their service on a commission, the city considers adoption of a resolution of appreciation recognizing the individual for their time committed to serving Maplewood. And during Nancy's time frame, our commission reviewed quite a few items, sustainability and environmentally wise. We were making modifications to our green building code, which of course we're still working on, our climate mitigation planning process, city solid waste and energy programs. And I think this was one fun event that Nancy helped spearhead was some environmental education and outreach at one of our events, Waterfest. So that's kind of highlighted in the resolution of appreciation. So we are looking for a motion of approval, and then I'll bring that recommendation to our city council.
Thank you, staff. I'll just say Nancy came on board the same time I did, and really appreciated all of her work and her especially a passion for waste and recycling topics and around those areas. So I will move to approve the resolution for appreciation for Nancy Edwards.
I'll second.
Seconded by Commissioner Bryan. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The resolution is approved. Moving on, I see no on the agenda for no unfinished business. And on to visitor presentations, seeing none. Any commissioner presentations? Seeing none, move on to staff presentations or reports.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have a few colorful slides here. So in lieu of 2 meetings this summer, we attended some tours. The first one was Ramsey County Environmental Center, and this is the new facility where residents in Ramsey County and other counties as well can bring items for recycling and proper disposal, including electronics, household hazardous waste. They'll take plastic bags, just a whole sort of items that they take in and try to attempt to keep out of the waste stream. So this is a brand-new facility built in Roseville, just on our Maplewood border, and their grand opening was in April, so we were one of the first tours to make it through there. You can see how nice and clean it is. Several of our commission members were in attendance, and we did go during the evening hours, so there were no residents in line and so forth. I've been there during the day when people were actually bringing items, and you have to wear safety gear and all that. But here, no one was there, so we kind of had full reign. And we also learned about the building and how it is LEED certified. So this kind of spotlighted our green building efforts that we're working on, as well as our waste reduction. So I wanted to thank Ramsey County for that tour. Beth was leading the tour. She's fairly new to the county, and she was great, kept us entertained, and had a lot of great information. Any follow-up from any of the commissioners that attended?
I just agree. I thought it was a great tour. It was great to see the facilities and get answers to some questions on their process. It was very informative.
I would just comment, I think the thing that struck me as the most surprising, and I think we had a fair amount of discussion about this when we were at the tour, was their education space, right? So they've got a dedicated space, and they still are trying to, I think, sort through exactly how they're going to organize reservations and things like that, but it seemed like it was in pretty high demand already for people to use it. So I thought that was really interesting that the environmental center part of it really is embodied through that classroom space that they have. And they had a really nice outdoor patio too. That was cool.
Yes, so they hold fix-it clinics there, and they're thinking of other ways to utilize that public space. Next item is a recap of our Capital Region Watershed District tour. So we took that on August 18th, and our guide was Bob Fossum, who is the Deputy Administrator. And you can see here Commissioner Saunders Pierce is demonstrating a fun water kind of educational play item that they have. They really have done just a great job with all the stormwater capturing of this building, which was previously a manufacturing building where I believe Bob said it was, they housed like street sweepers, things like that. And it's surrounded by residential properties, and they converted this building, and it's just absolutely beautiful with all the native plants that they've installed. And inside, it just really is kind of warm and inviting, and it looks like a really nice place to work, like a good work environment. But we were touring this, number one, to learn about some of their stormwater improvement projects. And Capital Region is a newer watershed district. I can't remember the exact date that they became a district, but it was kind of a grassroots effort from residents that lived around Como Lake, wanting that area, the lake, cleaned up. So that was interesting to learn about, and then also learn about this beautiful building that also is a LEED certified building, and all that they do for stormwater. They have a huge tank inside where they use the rainwater. It's gray water, and they use it for watering of all the landscaping and flushing of toilets, things of that nature. So it was a very interesting tour, I thought. So I appreciate that suggestion by Commissioner Gill to attend that. Any comments from commissioners that attended the tour?
Thought it was very impressive seeing all the different aspects of their basically their sustainability story with that space. Everything from the water usage to just the choice to rehab the building versus tearing it down for improvements, and all those things are very impressive.
The one thing that I'd observe, so they have a lot of different aspects that focus on education, and they have a pocket park, which is right next to the interactive water display that I'm featured at in that picture. So they have a pocket park, and then they had a little, one of those little library book, stands right on the corner there. So they had it stocked with a few items, few books, but the bookcase library, the top of it had a green roof on it, like a little micro green roof on it. And I thought that was just a really nice touch to all the other, outreach stuff that they had. And they have a room that they do allow public agencies to utilize. They have a conference room, but they have had other gatherings there from other agencies. So, I just think it's fantastic where we have these buildings that are LEED certified, and there's these dedicated spaces that are reservable or usable so that they can really demonstrate to a wide audience what kind of benefits and impacts they can have through these types of progressive designs.
I want to remind you that our Friday fireworks is coming up on September 19th. So last year was the first year that we combined the Touch a Truck event with the fireworks. Both of the events were canceled last year due to weather and maybe even air quality issues. So they were combined, and it was such a big success. And one of the areas they found that worked out really well is that, it gets darker a little later, so you're able to have those fireworks at 8 o'clock, and the kids can get home earlier. And then we always like to take this opportunity to do some education and outreach. And over the summer, we have been educating on our Tree City USA program. And so we do have a new natural resource coordinator who will be in attendance there, as well as myself. And we have opportunity to do other things too. I guess it's just around the corner. But I wanted to invite any of the commissioners to attend if you're available or want to help us do that outreach. It's a great way to meet your fellow residents and discuss our tree program. And there's just so many tree issues out there now. We're still dealing with oak wilt. Of course, all our ash trees are gone from emerald ash borer. So now those are all standing hazard trees, which is a huge issue. And all the storm damage from trees, and but how the city of Maplewood promotes trees in our living streets policies, and we have an annual tree sale. Everything that it takes to be a Tree City USA, which the city has been. Actually, I don't know how many years. Probably about 20 years, something like that. And recently, this year, you'll notice we finally got up the Tree City USA signs on all the population signs. So that is something that we can celebrate. So again, that's Friday, September 19th, 5 to 8:30. And like if you were attending the booth, maybe 5 to 7 would be something. Or if you're just out there, come by and say hello. So our new natural resource coordinator is holding a buckthorn workshop with specialists from the DNR. So this will be a great opportunity to talk to Caitlin or meet Caitlin, and then also discuss any concerns you have about this invasive species that is many people are struggling with in their yards. And this will be held this year at Wakefield Community Building, where there is still a lot of buckthorn. We actually have a group of individuals that have volunteered to remove, they're working on the removal of buckthorn and other invasive species below one of our last remaining, from what I understand, oak savannas, like true oak savannas, which is in Wakefield Park. So, if you're walking along the lake, it's real hilly on that one side, and there's all sorts of oak trees, and so that's kind of a last stand of oak savanna here in Maplewood. So you get to learn about, identifying buckthorn. Of course, probably most people know what it looks like now, how to remove it, treat it, and then there'll be an actual demonstration where they'll walk out to the wooded area and remove some of that and treat it. So kind of a fun event. So that is at the Wakefield Community Building on Tuesday, September 30th from 5 to 6 p.m. And you'll find that on our website, but I don't even think you need to do a RSVP. You can just show up. And then finally, I wanted to update you on some big items that are coming up before the commission. So in October, we will be reviewing wetland buffer variances for the Century Ponds development. You, I'm sure, have heard that the ponds at Battle Creek Golf Course is redeveloping into housing. So we have a proposal from D.R. Horton, and I think I have the number of houses here correct, 205, it's right around there. And that includes single-family and townhomes. And that golf course was sprinkled with wetlands, so they have had wetland delineations and have had the watershed district review. So unfortunately, some of those wetlands will be impacted, at least the buffers, not the wetlands. So our commission will take a look at their mitigation strategies proposed there. And we'll be also, I think at that meeting, we will have one of our consultants there, a landscape architect, someone kind of who specializes in plant material and wetland buffer mitigation strategies over and above myself, because, it's quite a large project. So this will go to the Planning Commission for a public hearing next week, I believe, September 16th. And the land use approvals, I'm not sure if I have them all here, but it's a preliminary plat, planned unit development, rezoning, and then, of course, the wetland variances. And so that'll go to the Planning Commission first, the Environmental Commission on October 8th, and then possibly, if everything goes well, October 27th would be City Council. And that's just for the preliminary plat, and then, of course, final plat comes sometime later. But they have had an environmental assessment on the property, and so we'll have all that information available to us. Because it is quite a bit of information, I'm going to get some, once that Planning Commission packet comes out, I'm going to send that to you so you can read over that material first. And then in November, we have another wetland buffer variance. This is smaller scale. It's for a Church of Pentecost building and parking lot expansion at 1701 Jarvis Avenue. And then hopefully we can take on the Green Building Code or our climate mitigation planning efforts after that. Any questions?
None for me. Thank you, staff. Sounds like a busy end of the year.
All right, thank you.
All right, that brings us to the end of the meeting. Is there any other items to address? All right, do we have a motion for adjourning?
I motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Motion by Commissioner Sanders Pierce, seconded by Commissioner Bryan. All those in favor?
Aye.
Adjourned at 7:19 p.m.